Hey guys, welcome to Deepwater Legends. I'm Nate. This is Troy, and today we have Naughty Rooster Fishing. How are you doing today, Captain Ron?
Good, good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on today. You guys have some outstanding products. I've been following you guys for a couple years now. I was very excited at the opportunity to bring you on here and talk about them, specifically tuna tubes. You guys have a donkey rod that looks incredible, and you guys slam fish in your charters, and there's got to be a secret. We want to let our guys know. First, I want to thank you guys for tuning into our show, listening to our stuff. It's tremendous to see how it's performing in the first month, and we want to thank you guys all. Special thank you to Magic Tail Outfitters for being our sponsor. We use their stuff all the time. We're not just telling you that. I used them before we got it. We still use them. Those guys are the best. If you don't believe me, go look at MJ Sport Fishing winnings. They win everything everywhere. Those guys just slay. But today, we're going to dig into some tuna. We're going to dig into some wahoo, and we're going to dig into some gear. Captain Ron's got some outstanding stuff, and it's changing the game of how people are fishing for wahoo. So, how are you doing tonight, Ron?
Good, good. No, I appreciate you guys having me. Being on a forum like this, I've watched them a lot. I've always wanted to participate. So really, thank you for the opportunity and the invite to come on with you guys.
Oh, no problem. The pleasure's all ours. Like I said, we've been huge fans. And the nicest thing about the show is that all of these people that we've been following for such a long time, we get to reach out to and be like, hey, I know this sounds weird, but we have a podcast. Would you come on? And then when people say yes, it's like, holy smokes, like this is
Yeah, right.
awesome.
Yep. Everybody wants their
And
5 minutes of fame, right? Everybody wants their 5 minutes.
exactly. And I know I can't be the only guy with these questions. Hopefully you guys have the same questions about these great products, and I'm fortunate to be connected with a bunch of great people in the industry and get to reach out and really get down and dirty and find out like, hey, why do we need this stuff? What's the benefit? How can we become better anglers? So first, Captain Ron, if you don't follow Naughty Rooster Fishing, you have to. This guy slams wahoo. When I say wahoo, we're talking wahoo, not weehoos. This guy's getting 100 pounders on the regular basis and just nailing them. And I know we're going out there, we're getting a bunch of 50 pounders, stuff like that, and we're pumped about it. But if I seen one come on the boat, like some of the ones that you have, I don't even know what I'd do. I'd need more gaffs. And and I'd love to talk about your tuna tubes. I know we talked on the phone a little bit, and we're digging into like, hey, like what's the secret to this? I know I mentioned like, hey, I don't really do a lot of marlin fishing, so I may not be the ideal customer. And you were like, hey, I don't marlin fish either. I use these all the time. So why don't you give us a little insight to how you use them and what you guys do and how
Yeah.
you're changing the game?
So for the record, I've been a high speed Wahoo guy. I still do it. I still love it. I mean, I don't care how many fish you catch. It's the drag that when that thing starts screaming and one or two, three goes off, four goes off. There's nothing like a bite high speed water trolling. And I get it. It's a boat pulling the fish and all that stuff. I get it, but it's just such a great way to fish. And in Bermuda, they've been live baiting these wahoo for a long time in Bermuda. For years they've been doing it over there. The main reason why they live bait over there because gas is almost $9 a gallon. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely ridiculous over there. So that's how they got into it. But the way, so in the last, I would say probably the last 2.5 years now, it's become really the way to fish up in North Florida. When I say North Florida, I'm talking about from say Ponce Inlet all the way up to the Florida Georgia line, and then up into Brunswick and on north from there. The Carolina boys are picking it up big time, and the same spots that we've been fishing for 10 years, high speed trolling, catching the 40 to 60 pounders. We're fishing those same spots, and we're pulling 90s, we're pulling 110s. Um, I think last year's tournament in 23, it's a three fish aggregate tournament, and I think the aggregate for three fish was 107 pounds. And I mean, that's over 300 pounds for three wahoo. It was just absolutely,
Holy
unbelievable. World
smokes.
class. I mean, world class. I don't care if you're going to San Salvador, if you're going to Bermuda, if you're going to Pickle Banks. I don't care where you're wahoo fishing. Some of the stuff that's going off of that North Florida right now is just unbelievable. And the Carolina boys are doing it too. I mean, you see the Carolina boys, they're doing. I think they don't have as good a bait as we have in Florida. I think that's what makes it. We have the bolt bonitas, which obviously progresses into the tuna tubes. But that's the main thing that they want up there, the big blue runners and the bonita, and they have them stacked up in there from starting in September all into March. It's just acres. Sometimes there's football fields of them up there.
I know one of the things I was surprised about when I first reached out to you is I knew you were a slayer of huge wahoo. And one of our recent guests, Captain Rick, he slams wahoo. Most of his wahoo are like in the 40 to 60 pound range, like you were talking. And talking to you on the phone, you're like, I fish out of that same inlet, the same grounds. And you have 6 fish over 100 pounds in the past year. And it's like, holy smokes, like what are you doing different than a guy that like I personally know that's fishing the same area that's getting much smaller fish because like we're in the Carolinas, we're getting 40 to 60 pounders on average. I want to know the secret because I want to get some 100 pounders on the boat. Wahoo's one of my favorite fish to eat, one of my favorite fish to catch. Like when it's scream and drag, like it's like no other. And if I can find where I can get some 100 pounders or how to get them better, I'm all ears. So
Yeah.
this cuts us right into your techniques and tactics. And
Yeah. And I will say this: the wahoo, whether you're high speed trolling on the banks of Bahamas or off of Florida like we do, those fish they eat when they want to eat, and when they eat, you have like maybe 2 hours. And I tell a lot of people, say, hey, throw them in a box, we'll get a picture later, let's go, because we got about 2 hours to catch these fish. And you'll literally see, and we put on some of our posts, you'll see the big stack of bait, and you'll see the little chevrons next to it. And those are wahoo just hanging out. They're sitting there by that bait, and they're not going to eat till they're ready. And when they're ready to eat, you got to be ready too to feed them. So even though these guys are sitting on these spots, they got good bait, they're fishing, they're not catching any fish, and they're just running around all over. But if they know what their machine and what they're looking at, they can see them wahoo stacked in there. You just have to wait them out. You just have to. It's painful, but you just have to just sit in there and wait them out. And fresh bait, like I said, fresh bait is the way to get these things. On the live bait. You know what I mean? Is the way to get them. So that's why I want patience. I mean, that's whether you're pulling lures all day for that one bite or whether you're live baiting. It's just patience. It's believing in your spot, hanging in there, and I think a lot of guys just bail on plan A too quick. They leave a spot too fast, and next thing you know, the bites that you hear on the radio, hey, they're firing off over here. You're 15 miles away. You're already done. You get out of that spot.
we
So
do a
patience.
lot of high speed and medium speed trolling for wahoos, specifically with nomads, with bombers. And one of the ways that we found is to use a reel that's entirely spooled with braid and like a
Yep.
4 foot section of like 150 pound mono. And it works tremendous. I actually wrote an article for the Big Game Fishing Journal on it and also digging into what you were saying, where 90% of wahoo you catch have empty stomachs. They eat
Yep.
once and then they're done. So it's really important to get after it right as soon as daylight hits until like 9, 10 a.m. Then it's like, hey, let's change the game, go after some fish that eat all day long. And it's critically important to get those lines out right away. But one of the things that I never really thought of was live bait fishing for wahoo. Now, sure, like you get over a reef and pitch out a live bait and stuff,
Yep.
but you guys are doing it a little differently. Catching bonitas, you're throwing them in these tuna tubes, and then
Right.
throwing them out there and putting the wackadoo on these monsters.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with like the game plan for doing that, and like what was really the switch in your mind to go from like, hey, instead of high speed trolling, let's troll some of these other fish and
Oh well,
try to
there's
get them.
definitely some pioneers up there that kind of kicked it off. And I'll say this: between like Brunswick, Georgia, and that whole part of Florida, there's some unbelievable kingfishermen up there, and that's why it's adopted so quick and such an easy transition. It's not. You remember when the big craze of deep dropping swordfish came into play? I mean, everybody was deep dropping swordfish, and there was never a fishery like that. So everybody had a learning curve. You know what I mean? And now there's some guys out there that are really good at it. But when it comes to this live bait and wahoo, I mean, it's literally some of your best kingfishermen on the east coast of Florida. They're some of your best wahoo fishermen now. I mean, it took them one day to figure it out.
So you think it
No,
started as like bycatch and then them realizing like, hey, like we need to start making this happen?
oh yeah, yeah, and like and it all kind of started because you would see boats that and people are buzzing around high-speed wahoo fishing. You're like, man, I know that guy's not over there. I know so-and-so's not over there. Captain so-and-so, he's not bottom fishing over there. I know he's not bottom fishing. And then everybody kind of started putting one and two together, and then it really has blown up. And they've actually kind of split these tournaments between live bait and then high-speed trolling because I hate to say it, but I don't think you're ever going to win these big tournaments high-speed trolling yet.
So are you guys bump trolling these baits, or are you guys just getting over the reef and dropping them down? Like,
No.
what's
So
your
that
main
a
way to
lot of
target them?
sorry, a lot of that bottom up there is just big chunks of live bottom. 5 or 6 football fields of as they have in Florida, that limestone bottom, pothole bottom, little reliefs. Just we call it kingfish bottom, live kingfish bottom is what we call it. And yeah, it's just a lot of has to do with the wind. Bumping in and out of gear. If you like on my boat, I got a 39 contender with triples on it, and a lot of times I'll just have one in gear. Not trying to pull them too hard. And but yeah, it's pretty much just you're covering ground, you're marking your bait, you're kind of working outside the bait, you're trying to stay away from boats because it does get crowded up there. Like kingfish tournaments get crowded, so it does get crowded up there. But a lot of times, yeah, obviously don't want to pull them too fast, and you want to keep them up because we have a shark problem. We see red snapper come from 140 feet and hit it like a bass hitting the top water lure. I mean, until you see that, you see gas grouper coming 140 feet of water and actually busting the surface hitting his bonita.
Are you rigging these baits a certain way to be bump trolling?
No, just a standard kingfish rig, stinger rig, J hook in the nose, and then we pin them two hooks down their back. Just a standard. We are using a little bit heavier wire, obviously, than the kingfish guys use. I like a 90, the 1/7 90 wire. Seems to work real well, and we still get bit off here and there. Bite throughs on it. They come from the back and pipe the whole bait. Sometimes you can get bit off, but a lot of what we fight is tail whipping. You get a 100-pound fish to turn and run straight away from the boat where his body's hitting back on your leader. That's what gets us most of the time. Is that
So are you guys fishing them on balloons? Or are you using like weights to get them down, like kind of like
No.
marlin
The
where you're
problem is if
bridle
you get them
rigging?
down, you get a lot of sharks. We have a shark problem like most places do now. So I personally like to keep them up on top as best I can. We did fly a kite quite a bit this year. A couple tournaments we flew the kite. Kite fishing is real productive for obvious reasons with the heavier leader you can run, stuff like that. So it's productive. But no, it's just really just 3 lines out, short, medium, long, and you're just bumping these things along, just I like to say, just keep their heads keep them pointed towards the boat. And when something's back there on them, you see all of a sudden you see the rod start bouncing. You know somebody's you're not happy about something.
So when you guys are kite fishing, are you putting a balloon on your kite, like a helium balloon or
Yeah,
anything
most
to
of the
hold it
time,
up?
yeah, because the reason we do because we're making sharp turns and we don't want that kite to drop down the water. So if we're just and we're just because a lot of times you're dodging boats, you're trying to get around boats, and a lot of times we'll even run a second. We'll come down off the kite maybe about 40 or 50 feet, tie a second balloon on there, just to really hold that belly out of the water because we do make some tight turns, and just to try to avoid boats and keep our lines clear by the boats, just kind of respect their space.
Troy and I did a considerable amount of fishing out of Palm Beach.
Yeah.
We were living down in Tampa area, and we'd
Oh yeah.
trailer my boat out to Palm Beach, and man, it's battle fishing out there.
Yes,
One
I
of the,
bet.
I hate to say niceties is that we have like an 80-mile run here in South Carolina, so it thins the
Right.
herd pretty quick. But down there where you're just running like 5 or 6 miles, it's like, oh man, everybody's out here. As soon as someone's hooked up, you got guys on binoculars, you got a million boats next to you. It's just crazy. They're like, we were out there one day. There's like a guy in a John boat with like a pregnant woman next to us, and we're like,
Right.
what is going on here?
Yeah, it's a run for us. Whether you're fishing St. Augustine, Jacksonville, St. Mary's up there, we still have a minimum 50-mile run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so and then if we go north out of say Mayport, Florida, which is Jacksonville, we run north up in that bottom up in there. Yeah, it's an 80-mile, 75, 80-mile run up there.
Do you ever run south to go out of like Palm Beach, Miami area, or is that pretty much
If we go
like,
down there, we're going sword fishing. If we go down there, we're pretty much going sword fishing. I'm not big. I'm not a real big sailfish guy, so I really don't mess with the. Which is we catch a lot of sailfish just on these with these bonitas. We every year we catch sailfish, grouper, cobia, amberjack, red snapper, sharks, um, big yellowfin, big bonita. I mean, it's amazing what eats those little bullet bonitas. Everything eats them.
Oh yeah, we can't keep away from big amberjacks and sharks, man. Like
Right.
a couple trips ago, we were running and we had a couple DTXs take off, and we thought we had something huge on. We pulled up like 2 80-pound amberjacks, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is like 30-minute fights on 80 wides. Like
Right.
we were smoked.
Charter captains love that. Charter captains love that.
Yeah, we're not in a charter though. Like we're out there trying to catch good stuff,
Right.
and we're just hooking into them. Like, oh my gosh! Now we have inexperienced guys. Like, we'll swing them past some reefs where we know we'll get picked up by amberjacks. We'll throw some
Sure.
vertical jigs down and just let them battle them. But like when we're trolling and stuff, like the last thing I'm
I
thinking
know.
is going to
I
hit a
know.
DTX at 9 miles an hour is an 80-pound amberjack.
Yeah, we call them grapefruit because their eyeballs look like a grapefruit, a little grapefruit. We call those big amberjacks.
And
Grapefruit.
it stinks that they have so many worms because they're such a beautiful fish.
I know.
The
And they
meat
fight.
looks like it would be good. I know the worms aren't bad for people, and lots of people eat them and love them. I get a guy that'll drive 2 hours every time I catch an amberjack just to pick them up.
Really?
I can't get over it. And I know every single year, no
I know.
matter what, I keep at least one hoping that there's no worms in it. And every year I come home, I play that one, and it's loaded to the gills with worms. And I'm like, ah. And then the next year I do the same thing, praying
Right,
again.
right.
I've never opened one up and not found worms the size of earthworms inside of them.
Oh,
They're
I
disgusting.
never. Yeah, I'm the same way. You know, growing up on the west coast of Florida, we've caught some big amberjack over there. You know, some monsters, especially on the freshwater springs and the deep water wrecks and stuff like that. You just get. I mean, you can't stay away from them. But to the point, they're always full of worms.
Always. Yeah, and they're huge. And like I just can't get over it. I know people are like, "Oh, you can eat the worms." I seen a video of someone eating one of the worms out of an amberjack, and I was just like,
Right.
"This is disgusting." And like you tell people when you take new guys out there, you're like, "It's filled with worms." They're like, "I don't care. I'll eat it anyways." Then you get home and it never fails. You cut that thing open and they're like,
Full of
"I'm
worms.
not eating that." Like that's
Oh yeah, no,
disgusting.
yeah, 100%.
And then you're dealing with like a 40-pound carcass of a fish that you just got to get rid of. And like,
I
we
know.
live in like an HOA neighborhood and stuff. Like, you can't just toss that thing in the trash can. Luckily, we're like waterside at the lake. It's like, hey, it's nighttime, throw that sucker in here. And then some poor bass fisherman's going to pull up next to some 40
Right.
pound amberjack and be like, what is this?
I know. I always laugh because you see the deer the guys that do a lot of deer hunting and stuff, and you'll like drive by the trucks. They'll have the rack hanging out where you know they got something. I always tell the guys, man, we need to take some of these big wahoo carcasses and like strap them to the back of the motors on the ride home, and let everybody
Oh,
see a big,
yeah.
a big carcass stretched across three Yamahas.
Yeah.
Show.
Like, I know in New Jersey it's a big thing. There's a lot of giant bluefin tunas and stuff.
Yeah,
People nail the tails to the dock poles, and it just gets so smelly and so many flies and bugs, and it's getting all over their boats, and it's just disgusting. But this opens up a great opportunity.
sure.
If you want to show people what you want to catch, Fish Flags USA has excellent flags. Our guy Lance, he was on our last episode. He's a friend of ours from Charleston, makes these things. They make them in every fish. They make them in realistic. They make them in like the old school kind, and every single one of them can be customized with your boat logo, charter name, anything you want. And if he doesn't have it currently, he'll make it for you. He made that skunk one just for Troy. Yep. Which also makes a great Christmas gift for your friends. Nothing's funnier than watching your friend open up a box with a skunk flag in it with their boat name on it, or whipping it out of your pocket on his boat and raising it up as outrigger. But yeah, let's dive into your tuna tubes. So
Sure.
we're talking a lot about fishing with bonitas. Bonitas
Yep.
are incredibly hard to keep alive. They got to be swimming like a tuna to stay alive. And you answered that problem. I know a lot of guys are spending 20, 30 grand to get some tuna tubes put into their boat. You identified that problem. You were like, a lot of guys have center consoles. They don't want to modify them like this. They're not marlin fishermen. They still need a live well. And you came out with the ultimate product to handle that, to be able to be like, hey, one day we can go fishing for wahoo or marlin with these. The next day we can have a regular live well to fill with fish, or like our live well a lot of times is a trash can where we put a trash bag in it, just throw
Sure.
beer cans in because we're fishing with a lot of dead bait up here.
Right.
And Your products are absolutely excellent. You guys make them to fit in all different kinds of boats. They're just push in, push out kind of things, and I couldn't believe it. And after watching your videos, I was like, I got to get this guy on. I got to try to bribe him or something to get
Yeah,
on the
no, no,
podcast. Luckily for us, you came cheap and easy.
right, like always, right? No, back to the bonitas, we did a lot of research and talked to a lot of people, and then it's harder to keep a bonita alive than the smaller the bonita, the smaller the yellowfin, the smaller the blackfin, the harder it is to keep alive. And talking to a couple of marine biologists, and they said that that particular fish, that tuna style fish, as they're in their called juvenile stage or less than teenager stage, their bodies don't match their gill plates. So they have to have a lot of water coming by them just to stay alive. Where when you see, like you see some of the videos of the guy in the Caribbean and stuff, they'll have a yellowfin tuna on the ground with a hose stuck in his mouth, and he'll live there for 10 minutes on the deck. So they don't need as much of that water coming by. And one of the big things too that's really helped us too is this diffuser, where it really spreads that water that comes out of their face. A lot of times, you guys will have that jet of water coming out, and the fish will lay to the side, the water will blow right by them, and it's doing no good. So that's another research. And then we found too the way that we have this, it's almost like a rifle effect on this tube right here. The way it kind of loads up the water, and it comes in. But yeah, they're just as simple as that. Let's say this is the 15-inch tube, and it's pretty much the same tube. And what we have done is just pretty much just take the center section out. Is if you can see that, and that's just to because what had happened was we had started with this tube right here, and people were cutting them up and they were hacking them up to make them fit in their well because they wanted tubes in their well. So so got together and we said, hey, let's just make a shorter version of it, and that way, and you can see the difference in the tube, and that was just because people were just hacking them up because they wanted tubes in there, and then as you see, there's mounting holes on the clock position. So these tubes, they can bolt together like this. They can bolt together this way. And to your point, like you said earlier, whatever it takes in the configuration to meet their weld needs. We just sent out a 3-pack where you had one here, and then he had two like this, and then one sideways like this. So he was able to fit 6 tubes in a little oval well on a cobia on a small boat. And we try to keep the price point where it's feasible for everybody to get into them. And the nice thing about it is one of the selling points is you can take this tube with a sea sucker on it, and if you're fishing your boat and your buddy says, hey, let's go fish on my boat, you can just take the tube and take it to his boat, plug it in.
You
So
hear that, guys? Without boats, this is critically important gear for you to get. If you get these
yeah,
and the plugs, you will get invites on boats. Secret pro tip. I'm
right,
telling you, if
exactly,
someone came up to me tomorrow and they were like, hey, I don't have a boat, but I got a bunch of these tuna tubes from Naughty Rooster Fishing, I'd be like, hey, you're on this weekend, man. Like, you better grab your Grundens. You're going to need them. You're
right.
coming out with us.
And people ask, they say, that bother you? No, because not really. Because I'll tell you what, probably 8 out of 10 times, those people will buy a set of tubes because they see them work, and they say, hey, we've been 4 times out of caught nothing. So and so shows up with tuna tubes, we catch 4 fish, and they did nothing different. They were just able to keep those baits fresh. And what we found too is with a lot of the pressure that there's so many boats, live bait in certain areas, that we do real well is we'll catch our bait in a certain area, and then we'll make a little 10, 15, 20, 30-minute jump to a little spot where nobody's at. It could be a little piece of hard bottom as big as your living room that could have one fish on it. You put one bait out, you catch him. You put another bait out, nothing. You pull up and you go hit another spot. So we'll bounce. We'll have a central bait. We'll have a location where we catch our bait, and then we'll just run to a bunch of different spots. And when the bait runs out, we run back to there. We catch more bait. We're off and running again.
And also the ability to revive baits. So you have bait out there swimming for a while,
Yep.
being able to pull them back in, switching spots, throwing them into the tubes, and being able to run. Now, I know you mentioned simple as this. Now, we were talking about these tubes before we started airing today. It's important to mention these are not
Sure.
simple. It's not you're going to make them at home. Like Ron has talked with biologists, with scientists, with engineers to get these things made. There's a bunch of proprietary stuff that goes into these to control the flow, to control the the rate of water pressure on these fish to be ideal to keep these things alive. If you just throw these in on some homemade funnel with a live well pump, you're going to drown. And he's already done the hard work. It's important to recognize that, support small businesses, and these things are absolutely excellent. I know you were talking about like the process of making these and over the years how you identified different ways to make them better and make them last much, not saying longer, but like to make them last for a very long time. And like what really goes into the process when it comes to the 3D printing. And with 3D printing, you're able to print stuff that's like not able to be made with molds because you can make different kind of features and stuff that that would need supports and stuff that you don't need with 3D printing. It's really amazing and completely unavailable if they didn't have that's kind of equipment available.
Exactly. This is a 17.5 inch tube. This tube right here takes about 36 hours to print one. So in that 36 hours, you can't have any power failures. You can't run out of filament. There's so much that goes on, and and it looks so simple just to make that.
Oh yeah,
And
look how thick the bottom of that sucker is.
yeah,
That thing
so
is a
and
beast.
yeah, so like I said, I tell people if this tube is used as it's designed, it'll never go bad. Now, if you sit on the boat and it falls off the boat and cracks, okay, well that's not how it's designed. But this tube will never ever go wrong if you use that as it is. And we print all the threads in the bottom here. It says one thing we always this whole thing was kicking off is we wanted to make it where everything was interchangeable. So if these pumps are probably the Achilles heel. That's a wool pump, and you honestly you get 4 or 5 seasons out of them. You get some that last 2 seasons. You get some that last. You can't hurt them. But and that's the whole thing is you can buy this pump at E&B Marine, anywhere online. Amazon has it, and the way it's made is this pump just screws right into the bottom of the tube, and then you just rewire it. So it's a standard. Your battery connection goes in right there, and it's that simple. That's the only thing that goes wrong. We make all the diffusers. We make the silicone boot that sits in the bottom of the tube. We pour these ourselves, and all this stuff is if your buddy drops a knife in there and cuts it, just call us up and we send you another one. We make these things 100 at a time, and look it up and just send it to you. So everything in here is fully replaceable, and they just don't go bad if if you use them as designed. That was kind of one of the big things, and we just wanted to make it where this wasn't a one-off from Europe that you could only get from us and stuff like that. I give people a part number. I said, I pretty much give it to them at cost. If they do blow a pump up or they short a pump out, it floods out in 2 or 3 years. They call me. I just sell it to them at cost. We buy pumps, probably 400 pumps at a time. So the prices that we sell them to is just to get them back on it. And when we send them to Costa Rica, we send them all through Panama, all through Cabo and everything. That we encourage you guys to buy 2 or 3 pumps. And when we put everything together, we'll have 2 or 3 pumps in there with it. That way you're self-sustained when you're off and running. But yeah, it looks simple, and we've had people out there trying to copy us. I've seen the copies. My friends send me pictures of the copies and stuff like that. It's just, I encourage everybody, to try, to do it. Don't, people want to go out and make their own stuff, make their own stuff. I fully encourage that. And the competition's always good, right?
Yeah.
Competition is always good. And I've said this in some of my videos that I post is, a lot of these ideas come from the people that I'm selling tubes to. I talk to every day on the phone. Everyone thinks I'm the smart guy, but really I'm just kind of taking what they kind of put in my head and then running with it. You know what I mean? About the different designs and, hey, have you thought about this? I was like, well, no, because I'm busy all day working, but that's a great idea. Let me think about it. And then we come up and I call them back, and bam, we got a whole other way to use a tube. You know what I mean? So, and that's where a lot of the configurations you see are from people that will send me a picture of their live well. They got a big deck well. Hey, what can you do for this? Or I just had a guy call today, a 90-foot Viking. So we're dealing with guys with a 23, like a 23 cobia is one phone call. The next phone call, the 90-foot Viking that he's getting ready to take through the Panama Canal to bring it over on the West Coast, and he ordered 4 jumbos and 4 medium tubes for his transom well. So you hear everything out there, man.
Do they come in different colors, or
Yeah,
is it solely blue?
we have white, black. Actually, I have 10 different colors, but we can print them in orange, we can print them in red, we can print them. But really, the main colors that people want are this blue, this cobalt blue. They really like, and we printed a bright white, and then we print them in a black, which is good as well. But the blues is hard to beat. I mean, it's just a really neat looking. And people have this belief that I don't know if I believe it or not, but they say that the blue soothes the tip soothes them, that makes them calmer. But tell you, the truth, I don't give them that much credit.
Hey, I'll buy it. I'll buy into it.
Sounded good.
Now, I know you said that you just hook it up to the battery, but I recently seen a video that you posted where you guys came out with a brand new way to plug these things in, and it was incredible. So for the people that are running 6 tubes, 7 tubes,
Yep.
even more tubes, why don't you let them know what you guys came out with to tackle that? Because
Yeah.
maybe you don't have 7 baits on the board. Maybe you only have 3. How can they get it to where, like, hey, we don't have to run all these. We don't need that power demand. We don't need
Yep.
that kind of flow in the live well.
No, exactly. And that particular, again, that came from the charter boat captain out of Venice, Louisiana, that started that. And and a lot of it was driven by the door, because they got the door always on the starboard side there. They didn't want a cable going across the door, so he wanted to bring everything to the port side. And then him and I just talking, so he ended up with a 6 bank. But like you said, there's no use running 6 tubes if you have 2 baits. It's just not. It doesn't make sense to run your whole system for 2 baits. So we came up with this pigtail design. It's a single hubble plug, male plug. They'll plug into a 12-volt power supply, and then we ran just 2 pigtails off of it, so he could plug 3 tubes in one plug. He's got 3 baits. He catches the 4th bait, 5th bait, then he can just reach out and plug his other one in. Which is a real good setup. And we do the same thing. If somebody gets a long bank, like a 6 bank or 7 bank, 8 bank, I always tell them to split it off. We'll wire 4 port, 4 starboard. Same thing, just to spread that load off the battery, because on the big boats, don't have to worry about it. They got generators, right? But the smaller boats, like my boat, the Yellowfin, any boat that's running 12-volt charge off the battery, if you're bump trolling all day, it eventually does start to pull on the battery. By the time you have your live well running, your tubes running, it does pull. So if you can have that battery management by monitoring, try to run 4 and 4, then unplug them as you increase baits or decrease baits. Seem to be
And that's
okay.
my absolute favorite part about supporting small businesses is because you guys are so in tune with your customers that you're listening to what their needs are. You're listening to, like, hey, like, you came up with an idea. It's not uncommon when you're supporting a small business to, like, see that come to action and be like, hey, like, I identified this for you. Like, bam, now we got a thing. Like, you reach out to, like, Shimano or something like that, and you're like, hey, like, this is my idea. They're like, hey, like, kick rocks. Like, we already have our scientists over here
Absolutely.
dealing with this stuff.
And
But like, guys like you are paving the way, and this is where huge advancements come, because like, you're identifying your key aspects, you're in touch with the customers using it, and coming up with ways to use this stuff the best way possible and create a better product overall for everyone to enjoy. And it's amazing to see where it came in the past 2 years, and I can't wait to see where it goes in the next 5. Like, who knows? Sky's the
Yeah,
limit.
and
You
yeah.
guys not only have these awesome tubes, you guys added a rod series for Wahoo as well that's incredible. Like, if you guys haven't seen the videos, these donkey rods are amazing. They're huge. Like, they make Ron look like a small guy on the side of the boat.
So I don't know if you can see it, but this is just the rod section itself. So you can just see the size. That's a number 6 ferrule on there, so it takes a number 6. And again, this was started years ago by another gentleman that I've was always friends with, and he's a rod builder, and that's one thing that we hold tight to our chest. We talk shooting to this stuff, but we really keep this blank tight to our chest, because it took about 15 different blanks to find the one that he wanted to use. And if you see the videos, you see there's a port and starboard rod. So the eyes, the guides on here, they roll to the front of the rod, to the front of the boat, because these are out there 90 degrees. So they're out straight out 90 degrees from the boat. And then, like I said, the eyes come off the reel, then they roll to the front of the boat, and they turn and go out the back. But I pull a 84-ounce lead with these things, 64-ounce leads, 48-ounce leads, and it really gets that on the triple and quad boats. It really pushes your short baits. I run all these on my short corner rods. So my short corner is about 90 feet behind the boat. My long corner is about 110, 120 behind the boat, and then I have my long rods out the back. But when I went from my old boat to my new boat, My corner rods are always the hottest. If people that do a lot of wahoo fishing, it seems like all their big fish come off of those corner rods, the bigger baits, the bigger lures. And when I got the triple motors, it's just like, I'm like, man, what am I doing different? I'm moving stuff around, letting stuff out. And it's just the amount of white water that those engines, outside was just really shutting those baits down. So this is and I run wire off. I run Monell wire off of mine. If I'm on a charter, I'll use mono because it's just a little more forgiving to the customers than fishing straight wire. But if we're tournament fishing, we're in the Bahamas with a crew and stuff like that. We even run silicone carbide guides. We run wire right through these guides. And my short rods are always a big fan of wire, old school. Can't beat it. Monell wire, 100-pound wires. To me, it's still it's kind of the secret that everybody has got away from. Everyone's so up on braid and mono, stuff like that. That wire on the short corner, man, it's hard to beat. It's hard.
I know I fished up in the Northeast quite a bit. I know a lot of striper guys are running wire when they're running their big spoons for striped bass and stuff like that. You're actually the first guy I've heard run it for wahoo. Getting into wahoo late in the game, just a couple years ago when I moved south, like we used to catch them occasionally up north. Just as bycatch. Usually, when we did catch them up north, they're enormous. Like, there's no such thing as a 60-pound wahoo up north. Like, they're 80 plus or none.
Yeah.
And you're only catching them when you're yellowfin fishing, and it's just by chance because you're never using wire or anything like
Sure,
that.
just a lip hook and get lucky.
Oh yeah, and then moving down here, it's like, okay, we're high speed trolling everywhere, and then starting to talk to like other captains and Lance and Chase. We had those guys on the show previously. They were like, hey, you don't even have to use wire. Use 150-pound mono. Like it works just as good. We never have bite offs, but only when you're using like plastic lures like DTXs and stuff. Like if you're running like actual plugs for them with like cigar weights and stuff like that, like then you definitely have to run some wire, some cable. But DTXs and stuff, they're so big, especially when running the 220s, 200s, 180s, stuff like that. The teeth rarely even touch the mono, and we've never even lost one. Honestly, I can't even remember losing one. I lost one to a mako shark once, but other than that, like not to any wahoo because they're just not swallowing the lure; they're just biting it, getting hooked on it, biting it. But that's incredible, and I love seeing those rods because I know one of the things a lot of guys are switching to carbon fiber outriggers. They're trying to get the lightest outriggers possible, so that way they can get lighter boats, lighter T-tops, stuff like that. But you try to run DTX or something off an outrigger, like you're gonna break that thing.
Even if you run like a tag on return to get the pull, have that pull push right back to the outrigger, you may only run it maybe 5 feet up the outrigger. You're not going to the unless you got a big boat that can handle the weight. This is the only thing that you're going to. I pulled number. We were out tuna fishing a tournament 2 weeks ago, and I was pulling a number 12 planer with these. So we're 100 miles offshore pulling a number 12 planer with a big lip plug on it to get down as deep as we can. So they're very versatile. I pull my dredge with it. I pull a teaser reel with them sometimes. Obviously with the wahoo, but so they have other options for the smaller boats. That work great. And a lot of sporties buy them too. A lot of sporties because it's a lot of those outriggers. Even if you have the big triple stack outriggers, it's a lot when you're high speed trolling and you have a big headed lure, a big cup face lure to hold in the water, and now you got a big lead in front of it. It's just a lot of wear and tear, on stuff. When you can buy one of these, if you tear one of these up, it's a lot cheaper than tearing up a 60-foot outrigger on a 74 Spencer. I mean, it's just.
Oh yeah, and we run a lot of side trackers, like from Sterling lures, chatter lures, like the wide trackers, stuff like that. And Troy and I were talking before the episode. We're like, those things would be perfect for running those. Maybe not bent down in a bent butt, but you put a straight butt on those to really get it high. Oh my gosh, you could run them twice as far back. That would be insane.
Like a green stick. You can almost if that was the case, and you say, somebody would order these, you say, hey, we don't have to roll the guides. We roll the guides because we fish about 90 degrees. But if somebody just wanted, straight on the spine, we could run them, build them any way they want. But you can almost use like a green stick too if you really want to.
Don't tell us that. We'll have an LP hook to one of those next week. We'll be running a green stick out of the center console. They'll be like, "What are these guys in South Carolina doing? This is insane." Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Like I love seeing innovation in fishing because like for so long everybody's just been doing the same thing. They're doing cedar plugs, they're doing tuna lures with feathers, they're doing spreader bars, stuff like that. To see people actually going out and identifying problems of new style boats, like you said, you have triple quads, like you no longer really have such a use for these short inside corners. Like, sure, the shotgun's going to be really effective, but like, you got to really start working on getting the lures out wider. And what are the best ways to do that? Like, you have outriggers, but you're limited on how many lures you can have on those. And this identifies exactly that. Like, hey, now I can get way more lures out to the side. Like, you put a set of outriggers on your boat, you have a set of those, all of a sudden you have 6 rods outside your spread. You throw 2 down the middle, a really long shotgun, a little bit shorter shotgun, you're already at 8. Like then it's like, hey, now the rest's just the cherry on top.
You know what's nice about these two is I'm a firm believer that I like pulling when I'm high speed water fishing. I use the biggest lures I could get on the corners. I use big moys. I use a big Brazilian Projet by a Black Bird. Palmetto makes some really big heavy lures, and even if those fish don't react to that lure or grab that lure, if it gets them kind of like I said, looking up at what's that going by, and all of a sudden here comes your back baits by them, then their eyes are up. They're like, hey, something's coming on, and all of a sudden you drag your longs over it. They're going to come at it. So I'm a firm believer that you get these out in that clean water. Even though they're not biting your big stuff, at least it's almost like a teaser. It's getting them woke up, and all of a sudden here comes your back stuff, like you're talking about, your long stuff, and then they seem to want to jump on it. And we've had them where you got 1, 2, 3, your back ones go off, and all of a sudden out of nowhere your short corner will go off. That fish came all the way, caught the boat, came all the way to the spread because he's still looking for something to eat, and he'll come up and jump on that shorter long corner, and if they're usually not the first ones that get hit, they never get hit. And it's almost like you can like if you get a short corner go off, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those fish are just stacked up in there. And as a short comes by, one grabs it. All of a sudden, here comes a long, and then they peel off and grab something. But you can almost just like one goes off, and you can just count. And you can almost point to the rod, like the next rod is a 250. That's gonna be the next one to see that sack of fish, and that goes off. And you point over here to 300. That's gonna be the next one to go. So to your point, I think the more bait you have out there, obviously, the better your chances are to a point. You know what I mean?
So are you a fan of running like the metal cowbells?
I say no.
I've never had luck with those personally.
They catch fish. I know. I've pulled them. I've caught fish on them. It's like a love-or-hate relationship, right? I mean, you either like them or you don't. But I don't have one now because I had 2 or 3 in my box, and every time I put it out, it gets bit and broke off or something. I never replace it. But maybe that's it.
They're so expensive. Like
I know, but they do work. Yeah, I don't know why I don't pull them as much as I probably should, but a lot of guys in Bahamas make a living pulling things. I know guys that pull 4 or 5, the whole spread out the back is cowbells, man.
I got to have 250 miles on one of my cowbells. It never seen a fish.
Have you moved it around in different positions?
Oh yeah, I mean we put it on every position, and its current position. The boat's actually in my tackle box.
Right.
Not going back out. We got way too much effective stuff to worry about putting that sucker out there. But like one of the lures we've actually been having tons of luck with is a company called Isbit Lures. They make a cedar plug, but has a huge steel cup head on it.
Oh wow!
And that thing just slays. But it's great. I mean, it's a huge cedar plug. It's probably 10 inches long.
Yeah,
the thing's a monster.
I mean, when that's another thing that's really caught us off guard about the live bait fishing or the wahoo is you see these little wahoo what they're eating. I mean, you see these 30-pound wahoo, biting a bonita 16 inches in half. So a 10-inch cedar plug, they're coming up just to take the running gear off and come back and get the rest. And we see it when we're and that's a classic wahoo is they come and bite it in half, come back around and get the rest of it.
So I'm going to ask you for some secret sauce here. What size bonitas are you seeing the best luck with your wahoo fishing?
Tell you the truth, it doesn't matter.
We got some 20 pounders up here. You sure? I might catch Moby Dick.
that 100-pound wahoo that we caught this year on charter, when we cleaned him, it had a black fin head that you could put on a dinner plate. The head was just around in his belly, and that's another thing that did too that really caught me off guard too about these wahoo is live baiting. Is we've caught these fish, and obviously when you're high speed and they get the water, they get up on top, they get flushed out a lot, they throw up their contents of their stomach. That doesn't happen when you're live bait fishing. When you're live bait because you're up on the bow, you're chasing the fish, 7-8 pounds of drag on a fish. And we've caught these wahoo where you physically could not put another, all the bonita in their bellies are like that. They're all just chunks of bonita. And you physically could not put another bait in his stomach when you clean them. And you're like, why is this fish even eating? And I think they just gorge themselves for, back to what we said about that 2 or 3 hour window. They just gorge themselves for that 2 or 3 hours, and then they go rest. They get real lethargic. And that's another thing that I think people have this belief that wahoo are just zipping around at 60 miles an hour wherever you go. And it's not like that. When you see those divers in the water with them and stuff, you see them just, they're there just swimming around, lethargic, just laying there a lot of times. They only really get spun up when they're ready to eat. You just want to make sure you're there. But back to your original question, I don't see any size difference in the bonita. To me, there's not. There's just the bigger the bait, the more stinger hooks I put on it. I always keep. We usually run. We usually carry out 6 rods with us, and 4 of them always have 2 on, and I have one with 3 and one with 4. And that's just in case we get a bigger bait, we can pin them. Put 4 hooks down his back.
And are you guys using treble hooks?
Yeah, yep, yeah. I personally, with the rig I like a number 7 short shank J hook in the nose, and then either a number 1 or number 1/0 down their back, and just evenly spaced out through their back. It's just, I can tell you, it's just glorified kingfish. It's just a glorified kingfish rig with 90-pound wire on that.
I can promise you, these guys are going to be doing that next time.
Yeah.
As soon as the water starts cooling down, we're going to be live bait fishing for wahoo.
I love fishing.
Let me say that because we went up to the we put a little sponsorship out for the South Carolina Wahoo tournament, and we went up there. Great bunch of guys put on a great captain's party up there out at Hilton Head. It's the first time my wife ever been up there, and a lot of people were interested in the tuna tubes, but they were just afraid to pull the trigger because they're all high speed guys up there. They just don't have a lot of. And we sold some tubes, and we sold some tubes online to the Carolina boys. And about the 3rd or 4th or 5th day of the tournament, real nice weather, a couple boats went out, and I told my wife, I was like, babe, it's going to take a few people to catch some big fish with live bait, and they're going to call all those people that were like looking at the tube, they're kind of on the fence. And sure enough, a couple of guys hung some nice fish in the 80s, all live baiting. And it's like our phone just blew up because now they like, hey, we better get involved in this. And,
oh yeah, come on up to Charleston and fish with us. We'll film it and we'll show them what's up. I mean, you catch an 80 or 90 pounder up here. I mean, everybody in town's going to be like, "Oh my gosh!"
Right? You guys have the live bait up there to support it?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you got big enough tubes for them, we get bonitas up to like 20, 25 pounds.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. You obviously need a little bit bigger rod than we fish to fish, and you might need a donkey rod, but I'm telling you, the bonita that size, when you clean these big wahoo and you see what's in their stomach, you won't believe what they're eating. Like I said, that one had a blackfin tuna that you could have put on a dinner plate, and it was still fresh. You can look at it, that's a blackfin tuna. You can tell by the roll of his lip, his big eyes. It wasn't a bonita. It was a blackfin tuna, and I just looked at it. I could not believe the size of head that was in his belly.
So what's the biggest wahoo you ever caught?
The biggest one we've ever caught, me personally, is a 110.
Holy smokes, man.
Yeah,
that's like a different fish than the biggest wahoo I ever caught.
Yeah. They had a boat last year, charter boat last year. He got a 124 up there off of St. Augustine area.
That's insane.
Yeah,
the same area people are getting 60 pounders every day.
Oh yeah. They all run together, and that's the funny thing about the whole story behind that big fish. Real quick is, it was on a charter boat. It was a big pack. It was an actual tournament day. Big pack of boats fishing, and the rod went off, the mate hooked it. He goes, oh, another shark. And one of the customers on the boat, one of the clientele, was like, oh, I'll fight him, I'll catch him. So he gives the rod to him, and they're fighting the shark, and all of a sudden they see the rod bounce a few times. And the mate like tells the captain, man, we better watch this thing. This might not be a shark. And sure, a few minutes later, the rod bounces again, like you see the head shake. And the mate says, Cap, I don't think this is a shark. This might be a big wahoo. Sure enough, 20, 30 minutes later, they had a 124-pound wahoo laying on the deck. You know,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Oh
So,
my
and
gosh.
that gets, so even in the tournaments, you know, we fight, you know, it's a shark, we cut it, we cut the line, let's go. But, you know, during the tournaments, we always make sure that we know that's a shark, or it's just not a big lazy wahoo down there that got us.
So real quick, where can people get your gear? They want these rods. They absolutely need these tuna tubes. Where can they get them at?
Yep. So we do obviously social media. We have a big presence. All our socials are on there, but NR Fishing is where our website is. That stands for Naughty Rooster Fishing. It's nrfishing.com. And we have the donkey rods on there. We have our live bait tuna or live bait wahoo rods on there that we sell, that we get, you know, custom made the live bait and the bonitas. And, you know, standard rod, but when we use a little bit heavier tip on these live bait rods, when we're pulling a bigger bait, we just don't want that rod really lay over like this all day. So we have this made with a little bit more tip on it, plenty of backbone. But yeah, so it's nrfishing.com, and that's we have everything on there that we talk about, all the tuna tubes, our traditional tuna tubes, our fiberglass sets that are more of a custom style for boats, our live bait rods, our hook sets are on there. Everything that we use, everything that I use on the boat is on there. We don't carry a terminal tackle, we don't carry anything like that. It's just stuff that we make for the boat for our charters is on there.
That is awesome. And then speaking of charters, I know you guys are not only a specialist in wahoo, you also do yellowfin tuna, and you are a swordfish master. And first, before we get into it,
Yeah.
we're swordfish guys ourselves. Where can they reach your charter at? How can they book with you?
So
I know a lot of guys are coming down to the Orlando area. Maybe they're going to Disney World with the family. They need a break. Disney is great. If you're there for 7 days, you need one of those days for a dad's day.
that's
Book with Captain Ron, book with Captain Rick. Get out there fishing. Like these guys are killing it, and it's an excellent time. You can't beat it. If you're flying from somewhere that doesn't have an ocean, like you need to get out in the ocean and fish, especially if you've never done it. Even if you have done it, you still need to get out there. These guys are slamming monsters. Ron is pulling them up all the time. Like this guy is crazy. Like I swear Noah's going to make new rules specifically because of watching his Facebook. Like they're going to make a Ron's law.
you might put that skunk curse on me from that flag. I might need to order a couple flags.
That's true. You'll be good without that. But how can people book you? Where can they reach you at? And what kind of trips do you offer? You guys have a beautiful boat, and I mean that thing looks fast.
Yeah,
I've
no,
ridden
yeah,
on
appreciate that. Yeah,
I know they're
yep.
great rides.
Yeah, we're really proud of that boat. It's a 39 contender, triple 300s on it. Just repowered her last month. Um, so back to the point, we really fish for three things. We tail our charters for yellowfin tuna fishing during the season, swordfish are year round, and then we obviously do a lot of the wahoo trips, starting around October, run all the way through till March. Those are really, we got some great guys that people want to go bottom fishing, I can turn them on to and stuff like that. But we really mostly do what we call the other side trips. And that's when you're fishing, the eastern side of the Gulf Stream. And it's a pretty big event. I mean, it's you're 80 to 100 miles offshore. Run to elaborate on the tuna a little bit. We do a lot of running and gun for tuna. That's radar fishing. Put your spread out, go get them, and then the swordfish is sword fishing. Sometimes it's painfully boring, as we all know. If you've been sword fishing, But the thing about sword fishing is what I truly love sword fishing too. Is every bite, it could be 100 pounds or it could be 500 pounds. You just don't know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? That's always been the lure. That the lure to me is that fish. Like I said, it could be a 500-pound swordfish off of a little bloop, bloop, bloop. You're like, oh, you know what, so that
Oh
art
yeah,
of
now you're speaking my language. Like
Yeah.
sword fishing is my absolute favorite. Like daytime sword fishing, nighttime sword fishing, it doesn't matter. If it's sword fishing, count me in. I absolutely love it. We had a heartbreaker about a year and a half ago. We were out with No Limit Sport Fishing, and of course, every one of the clients was asleep. And me and Dante, the owner of Magic Tail Outfitters, were awake, and we were fishing because we're about that life. And we hooked a beast, man. I
right.
mean, like, it was a beast. Like, this reel was screaming like no reel you ever heard before.
You got good drag?
No, you don't. And it took a Boston mackerel at like 200 feet. And we fought it for hours. And of course, the last 15 minutes, charter client woke up. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna reel." Came up and reel, lost a 500-pounder at the boat. I was
Wow.
like,
Nighttime,
"Oh,
nighttime fishing.
oh yeah, nighttime."
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
last 15 minutes, Dante fought this thing all night long. Like, I mean, like, he got the most incredible video of it. Like, it was crazy. Like, we thought we hooked the plug on the ocean, man. Like,
Right.
this Okuma was screaming. Like, I swear this reel is probably out of commission. I asked John on our podcast with him if it was. He's like, nah, I just sent it in to get serviced. It's back. And it's like, okay, they probably regutted the whole thing. Like, there's no way. Like, this thing was so fast. Like, you know the videos where like people are like dump water on it. Like, this was past
Right.
that. Like, there was smoke. Like, like this thing was it. It sold me on Okuma. I wasn't an Okuma guy. I'm a Shimano guy. But like after seeing what this put up, it's like, yeah, I'm sold. Like if it can do this, I'm down. I never ran into this problem before. Like it was like hooking another boat going the other way for
Wow.
hours.
I
And
talked to Nick Stanzik. Who's caught more swordfish than anybody I think in the world. And we were talking about that Miami Boat Show. He's down there at Freeman, and he has said it before that if you tie a 500-pound blue marlin to a 500-pound swordfish, it'll pull it backwards all day long. I mean, there's no difference when you look at the tail of a 500-pound swordfish. It's this thick at the tail. You see a blue marlin, it's like this. They're just unbelievable fish. I think that's kind of my draw to them is you just don't know what you're going to. And my wife and I, we do it a lot during that. When the weather gets nice, it's just her and I out there. And people are like, "Oh, what are you gonna do if you get a big fish? It's you and her." I was like, "Well, I'll worry about that when it happens."
yeah, like luckily when we do a lot of daytime sword fishing here out
Yeah.
of Charleston. Luckily we have an LP, but this was on an Okuma Makira, like 50 wide, and it was like, oh my gosh, like we got down to like a couple wraps multiple times, and it was just like, oh no, got next to the boat. Guy lost it. We dropped another bait down. Luckily, we came back like a 350, so we saved the day. But it was still a heartbreaker. It was like, how do you recover from that? Like everyone's like, why is everybody so bummed? We had the best trip ever. We came back with 1,200 pounds of tuna and a swordfish, and it's like
Yeah.
you lost like
There was a charter boat. I think it was a privately sporty out of Sarasota, Florida, last summer that they fought a swordfish for 13 hours, and they saw the fish on leader like 5 times. And very well known captain, been around, in his late 60s, had been around fish, and he said it was the biggest fish he's ever seen. He said it was
yeah.
and he said it was definitely swordfish and was the biggest fish that he's ever seen. And eventually,
Someone in Australia just caught like a 1,200 pounder last year. It was insane. Like I couldn't imagine the
the
fight
world
that
record
would.
like 14 and some change. I mean, the world record swordfish off of Chile, I think, was like 1,400 something pounds.
Yeah.
So,
What are you guys using for bait usually? I know we use a lot of eels just because they're so strong. Like they can take a beating down there.
yeah, we use a lot of eels, and we're lucky because we can put traps out here and catch a freshwater eel right in these lakes around Orlando. I'm a big fan of ladyfish. A little hard to hook, but I'm a big fan of ladyfish. To me, squid's hard to beat. Nice big squid's hard to beat. And we use your standard, your bonita taco, your dolphin belly, and stuff like that. One thing we
Yeah,
have to
we try to stick away from squid just because like we're dropping pretty deep here. We're doing 1,500, 2,000 feet, and
Yep.
you never know when you come up with a bare hook or you have a spinner or something.
Right.
Like it's tough to to really justify it. We have such a far run out there, and like
Sure.
we want the best opportunities. So a lot of times we use octopus legs
Yep.
or
Same.
eels if possible, and we'll get eels sent down from up north, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
get some good eels from like New Jersey, New
Yep.
Hampshire,
Yep. What we usually do is
Massachusetts.
we really soak them. We jab them with a knife a few times and dunk them in mayonnaise oil to give them a little more because they're just so the one. If it's the same eel, you're talking about the freshwater eel, the Florida eel, right? The freshwater.
We use the eels from up north. They're saltwater eels,
Oh, okay. So a little different
and
breed.
they're really
Tough.
really tough. I mean, like you can catch multiple swordfish on the
Yeah,
same
ours are
one.
the same
Like,
way.
I mean, I'm not saying we're being cheap, but sometimes we'll come back and refreeze it, reliter it,
Sure.
send it back out, like just just because it's so
Right.
good. And I seen a guy from Texas do one on a rattlesnake recently. He cut the head off a rattlesnake and rigged it up, and he caught a huge swordfish
Oh
on
yeah,
it. Like,
I mean, a
if
lot
I
of
can get a
guys.
hold of a rattlesnake out here, you better
Oh,
believe it's
mail it to
going
me.
down.
Oh, mail it to me. But
We
no,
got copperheads. First
yeah,
snakes on notice.
they're using a lot of barracuda bellies here now too. They're using a lot of barracuda strips. I really think, man, the swordfish, if it's fresh and it's presented right, they're gonna eat. They're gonna eat. You know,
We're
and
usually fishing multiple lines, so like we like to have something that's really tough, just
yeah,
so we know it's going to be down there. It can get beat up. We know it's going to get hooked.
yeah,
Um,
that's a
because I
downside.
just hate having to pull up a bear hook and be like,
I know.
oh crap,
And
we
and
got
that's the
smoked.
downside of a ladyfish. That if you get one good whack, if you don't hook the fish and he whacks it again, you might as well pull it up because you're done. You're done. But people believe in that ladyfish is when he hits that bait the first time, and and their scales come off in your hands, and when he hits that fish the first time and all that glitter comes off the scales and that light pops, it's just they say it just like it just triggers them and they come in again hard.
I was with the guy one time. We did a mahi belly, but we took an egg sac out of a wahoo and put it inside the mahi belly, and that worked pretty good too. But that was the same thing. It's like a one shot kill. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you got to get it right away or not at
Yeah.
all.
But I do use a lot of eels, especially on the buoy, where they can sit out there and whack it as much as they want. Because a lot of times when we're fishing, we use one tip rod and we'll fish two buoys when we're
You'll
fishing.
fish 3 rods at once. That's insane.
Yeah, so we'll fish a standard tip rod, and then we put a what we call jug way out, and then we'll park another one about halfway between that one and the boat. We're off of Canaveral, we have a real muddy bottom, and we fish anywhere from 15 to 18, 1900. So you never, I mean, you could drag the weight the whole time and never hang bottom out there. So they're
Are you guys running like LPs or are you
oh
doing
yeah,
hand
no,
crank?
well, yeah, we run all LPs for the tip rod, and then we use a lot of hookers, detachable motors, so we can move the rods around the boat real easy.
That's
So
awesome. We actually have a the new guy that's coming into the market, Kobo Reels. I don't know if you've seen him.
no, I haven't seen.
He has like a detachable spool reel, similar to like an LP. He's going to be on here next week,
Okay, cool.
and the reel looks amazing. 100 pounds of drag, does
Yep.
90 pounds of cranking force. It looks like a good competitor. It's really a light looking reel compared to like the size of like an LP, which is pretty cumbersome.
Yeah.
But we use an LP currently, and that thing's just a boss, man. We've never
I
come
know. I
against
mean,
something the LP couldn't handle.
yeah. I mean, to your point, I mean, the LP is just something that was done right, and it's just so right. I mean, it's just I do like the hooker. They're both Florida companies. They're both 100 miles away from me. They both have their purposes, but you can't beat if you're running a tip rod, you cannot beat that LP for tip rod.
We had Greg from Fisherman's headquarters on here, and he's like an LP repair center. He's like, yeah, if that's all I did, I'd be out of business. I never have him come in.
Right.
There's never anything wrong with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I have nothing nothing bad
Yeah,
to
those
say.
guys just kill, man. We love
When we
ours.
won that tournament you're talking about, we had that 376, and the way sword fishing goes, we went to that same spot. We fished that same piece of bottom for 4 pre-fishing trips before that swordfish tournament and never got a bite. To your point, every bait we could have taken out of the water, put in the freezer for the next day, and we had 4 days out there over about a 2-week period and never got a bite. We go out there for the tournament. same spot, same same bait lineup, and we banged that 376 and win the tournament. And that
Yeah,
was
we'll post that picture up here. That thing was a monster, man.
yeah. I mean
Yeah.
that's
Congratulations. That was a whopper.
yeah. And I always tell the guys to do that on the tournament day, to talk about it for 2 or 3 days, and go out there and catch fish like that. Took about 2.5 hours to get them. I'll never forget that ride home. I've never had a bunch of everybody hooting and hollering in the back and fish hanging. They got head out one side of the boat and the tail out the other side of the boat. And we that one fish was bigger than the second and third place fish combined. That tells you how big that fish was that tournament. So that one fish could have swept the board almost. You know what I mean?
And that's the best part about fishing is it's like any given day, man. Like you'll
I
see
know.
the white marlin open some years will go, no white marlin caught. We went off of Ocean City, Maryland, like last year sometime with MJ's. We caught 17 in one day. Like
Wow.
it was like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Like and all like 100-pound fish. Like they were all enormous. It was like
Right.
every single one we brought to the boat would be like, well, that would have won last year. This would have
Yeah.
won.
Yeah.
This one would have won. Like,
We took the boat to the Big Rock last year and fished Big Rock last year. We trailered up and fished the outboard division, and what an experience, man. I mean, I fished a lot of tournaments, but that was just unbelievable. Just
now a
absolutely.
little bit of secret knowledge is if you go to the White Marlin Open, enter the swordfish division because
Right.
rarely anybody does it. And there's tons of swordfish out there. The only bad thing is you have to hand crank them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, like, you can go do the swordfish division because everybody's out there marlin fishing,
Uh,
and
it's not a
you'll
secret
just
no
kill it.
more.
I guess we'll see if anybody's smart and they go out there and they're
Right.
like, "I'm sword fishing today."
Right.
You go up there, it's 400 boats sword fishing. Nobody's white marlin fishing. You're like, "Son of a bitch!"
Yeah. You see, you're bigger than you thought you were. See, you're more
Yeah.
popular than you thought you were.
We had the right guys listen to the podcast.
Right.
Shit.
What does that swordfish division pay?
If you're listening to this podcast and you win the swordfish division this year, shout us out at the weigh-ins.
Right. That was my thing at Big Rock. I didn't care if that fish was a 401 pounds. I just wanted to back my boat up at Big Rock and drag a fish off of it. Like I said, it could have been 110 inches and 401 pounds. I just was trying so hard to hang something there at Big Rock, but it just never happened. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, tournament days are always the greatest when you're pulling in and weighing something huge. Like I love it. We we actually placed in the Big Three Classic up in Chatham 2 years ago, and it's like a catch and release, like bluefin tournament. We still brought one back. It was like we gotta have something on the deck. It's legal. We're bringing it back. Like we got our pictures and we're entering in, and like we'll cash the check, but we're bringing something on the deck
exactly.
too. I'm not coming home empty-handed, baby. And if it was legal to keep more, we would have.
We had a dolphin we had like a 12-pound dolphin on one of the, because you get 4 days out of what, six, I think, in Big Rock. We had like a little 12-pound dolphin that we caught, and he would have won the dolphin division. And we didn't even, that thing, throw him in a box, we'll worry about it later. And come to find
You
out,
used to fish in Florida, you're like, just throw this sucker overboard.
yeah, we looked at the board, and like the winning dolphin for that day was like 9 pounds. And it didn't pay a lot, but it was just, we could at least have a name on the board, saying that we had the big dolphin for the day. But that was the highlight of that tournament. And we were lucky to get 4 days in up there. When you're fishing off of Carolina, to get 4 days in a center console boat, that's an achievement right there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean every weekend here we're looking at the weather, we're like, son of a bitch, and then we're going out in terrible weather and we're like, this sucks, but like it's all we got. Like this
Yeah.
weekend, not looking that great. We're still sending it Sunday because we're in a tournament, so it
Right.
doesn't matter.
We posted up in Moorhead, and we would run along the shoal and make that turn to the north, and you just look over that shoal, and you're like, man, don't even get me near that thing. Being a
Yeah,
Florida boy, we don't have that, man.
we need Grundens to sponsor us because we'll wear them every time. You need them. I swear, my boat, if it was any wetter, you'd be better off swimming.
Right.
You might as well wear a swimsuit. Like
So
I was gonna rename my boat to Wet Willie because there's no dry rides.
I got you.
um, so fishing out of Florida, how many days a year are you usually able to get out there offshore? Like if people are booking you, what's the best times a year to book you for what they're looking to catch?
Sure. Well, the sword. So to begin with, a lot of fishing we do is very weather dependent. So unfortunately, sometimes we cancel more charters than we do because just the run that we have. And it's different. You can't run a charter like you run your buddy. Like you said, hey, shut up and sit down. We're going. What I mean? Charters, you just can't run them like that. So first of all, we're always watching the weather to make sure we can get out that day. But you know, the wahoo is what we probably do the best at, what people really want to catch, and that starts in late August, September area, and it goes all the way through the winter months. And North Florida during the winter, you have to deal with that northeast wind a lot. So always take that in fact. And then the sword fishing pretty much is year round. We have our peak months through like November, December, and then over March, April. And that's kind of as those fish come south during November, December, and then they go north in April, March, April is where we get them again real good. But there's resident fish out there all around, year round. And then then the tuna fishing kicks off real good. Like right now, we're right in the middle of tuna season. That usually kicks off about the April, May time frame, and then runs all the way till August. And later in the year like that, we try to encourage people to do what we call the evening bite, where we leave the dock around 11 in the afternoon, and then fish right up till dark. They come on home because you get those dog days of summer where you just have a real heavy from where we're at in Central Florida. You get that 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just so hot out there. The birds aren't flying, the fish aren't doing anything because it's just so hot. So we really like that evening bite later in the year.
And what cities should people get hotels in if they're looking to book you?
Yeah, so that hotel district of Orlando where all the parks and stuff are, that's about we're about 60 or 70 miles from there. But if they're gonna run out of Port Canaveral, just on the beach here at Port Canaveral. And a lot of people, they stay on the beach and make the drive to Disney. So it works out good for the charters where they're out there on the beach and a lot of times the way that, as they'll spend a couple days at the park, a couple days at the beach, then go to a different park and back at the beach. But Port Canaveral area, is where a lot of people will stay for the charters, or they just drive from Orlando, which is a terrible drive. It's 65, 70 miles to the port there that we run out of.
Yeah, really easy drive from Orlando to the beach. Smooth sailing the whole way, unlike
Yeah,
Charleston. Like Charleston, oh my God, the traffic here is horrible, man. Oh,
right.
like I moved from New Jersey down to Charleston. I'm not from New Jersey, first off, but I moved from there down to Charleston. I was like,
Yeah,
I was based down here in the
clarify
Air
that real
Force.
quick.
Yeah, yeah, I don't claim New Jersey. And I was based down here like 15 years ago, and I was like, oh, I remember from Shaw Air Force Base to the beach was like an hour and a half. Now I live 50 miles closer, it's still an hour and a half. It's like, this is relentless. Like the traffic here is just absolutely terrible.
Right.
But the fishing here is tremendous, so still come on down. Well, it was a
Oh yeah,
pleasure
I
having
heard the
you
bill
on here.
fishing is getting pretty good up there right now too, kind of early.
Oh yeah,
So
it's kicking
far.
off,
No, I
man.
Yeah.
appreciate the offer. I really
Yeah,
appreciate the offer.
this is definitely the time of year to come fish here. We got the mahi. We have the billfish coming in chasing them. It's almost impossible not to catch sailfish, blue marlin, stuff off the shore here. Like springtime is really the best time to fish the Carolinas. And if you're looking for wahoo, it's the fall winter time frame, early spring. We have a lot of blackfin
Sure.
tuna down here during those times. We don't really get a lot of yellowfin down here. Um, Recently, in the past like 20 years or so, they used to say they came in here a lot. Not really so much anymore. And it's sad coming from up in the Northeast Canyons where that was specifically what we targeted was yellowfin, big eye, bluefin. But down here, the
Sure.
blue or the billfish bites off the hook right now. So if you're booking a charter in Charleston, springtime's where it's at. You want to be in here from April till June. is the best time of year by far. Like you'll sink the boat mahi this time of year. And that's why the mahi tournaments, the
Right.
boatfish
Wow.
tournaments, stuff like that are all this time of year, and the wahoo tournaments in the fall and kingfish and stuff like
Yep.
that. The summer really dies out here because it just gets so hot. It's brutally hot, so that's when we do a lot of super deep drop, like
Yeah,
go
it's
for
the same in Florida.
redfish,
Like Dawn in
swordfish.
summer, yeah, it gets up.
But the conditions are the best in the summer. Like, I mean, we can get out there almost any day to go sword fishing or wreck fishing, stuff like that. Thank you guys for tuning in Deepwater Legends. We ran into some internet issues. Thank you, Captain Ron, for coming on. Naughty Rooster Fishing. Check these guys out. Their products are tremendous. I've been following them for a while. They're coming up with better stuff every month. And thank you again for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate all of our viewers and you guys listening. This has been an incredible month so far. We're excited to see where it goes. We have some exciting guests coming up here in the future. And I want to thank you guys again for listening to what we had to say and reaching out to our guests and supporting them. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. And I hope you have a great evening. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Nate. This is Troy. Thank you for watching Deepwater Legends. Have a great night.